Welcome to Crimson Guitars, welcome to my home studio, welcome to, well, this is the live stream. This is episode 43 of the Crimson Guitars live stream, Luthiers question time, where I will answer your questions. I will talk about guitar building. I will probably put my foot in my mouth in some way, shape or form, but hey, that's what we're here for, isn't it? So we have got a bunch of people in the comments. Lisa is here. Divergent Guitars, how's it going, Lisa? Brandy B and Dimitri and Leprechaun. SC Guitars is our sole and only moderator for the evening, as Creverai has been live posting photographs of his fantastic holiday in the sun, just driving home how, well, the rest of us aren't there. But anyway, it is what it is. So, yeah. Welcome, one and all. Alrighty. Now, let me get started straight on an email that came through just now from Robert Tucker. He says, "It's all your fault, Ben. Your addiction for tools is contagious." And he follows that up by 3 exclamation points. I was looking at picking up just 2 planes, but as I stood there looking at them in my indecisive moment, I could only hear one thing. What would Ben do? Well, get them all, of course. So he's now in the process of reconditioning them, and he followed up asking me to just quickly go through an update on how I would restore modern tools. He sent through a picture. He found number 5 or 6, 3 very cool looking block planes, including what looks like probably a low angle block plane, which is a really good thing for guitar building in general, or guitar building specifically, but woodworking in general. Very basically, last weekend there was a restoration video where I used a metal worker's scraper to get rid of the bulk of all rust and that sort of stuff. In your case, it's probably not necessary. A leveling beam, actually, with some 240 or 320 grit paper on the side, will clean up most rust and leave the surface looking nice and flat, for that matter. So actually, fine sandpaper is okay for restoring tools. I use fret rubbers every now and then if it's only a light surface rust. There are also wheels that you can get for your bench grinder to clean that sort of stuff away, but that shoves dust up into the air and it's not as fun. But, well, that's it. There are many different ways and many different abrasives, even the various different grades of, oh my gosh, Abranet, Mercadou, this product that looks a little bit like the scouring pad that you would use in your kitchen. I can't remember the brand name, what they call it. But anyway, please excuse me, I have a sore throat. But we will see. Now, Martin of the Nuclear Village comes in and says, "I bought 5 last week. I'm doomed to a life of productivity and of being in the club. You're in the club, and all the better for it." So there we go. Oh, Brandy B's. Okay, the super chats are flowing. If you absolutely want me to see your question, super chats are the best way to do it. Brandy B has sent $5. Thank you very much, Brandy, and says, "I salvaged tuners from a broken acoustic guitar. Can I use them on an electric? Also, will I still put my art? Oh, I will still put my art on Instagram. I just haven't had time yet. If there's one thing I understand, it is that. But yes, when you do, drop me an instant message or at me in the thing. I would love to see it. Yes, there is no functional difference between an acoustic guitar's tuners and an electric, except for the fact that most acoustic guitars tend to have larger tuning buttons, or the actual key section of it. I really should just Google and find out what exactly. I've got a mental block on that term. So yes, they function exactly the same and should, Go for it, absolutely. Luke of HBW has sent £5 and said, "Hey, bed!" Exclamation point. I mean, tempting. It's the ice cream guy. Oh, I know you. That was most emphatically well needed. Thank you very much. At I think it was Makers Central a good 3 years ago now. I was absolutely flagging, and he bought me ice cream. Unless there's more than one ice cream guy, which is entirely possible that there is. One thing that blows my mind is how you can build, plane and restore to such a high standard on such a wobbly bench. Do you know what? I thought that this wobbly bench was just because it was a crap wobbly bench. It looks nice, but it's wobbly. And I never thought to... And I'm rather embarrassed that this is the case. I never thought to check if there was any way that I could tighten anything up. And if I'd only looked, I would have noticed that there were at least 16 bolts to tighten up. And when I was doing the workshop renovation, as it were, a couple of days ago, I noticed that some of those bolts could actually be moved just by with the strength of my fingers. So I tightened everything up, and the bench, it's still wobbly. It's still a small bench. But it is much, much, much more stable. So moving forward, that's going to be better. The other thing to point out, actually, is that when I built this workshop, it's got a substrate, which is a floor, obviously, made out of wood, and it's a little bit bouncy. And then, because of comfort and wood and insulation and all that, I put a 2-inch thick layer of insulation onto which I just threw inch-thick floorboards. The problem is they also move, and everything's a little bit flexible. So while I was working on the workshop, and this didn't make it onto camera, I also screwed very, very long bolts all the way through both the feet of the bench and the top layer of flooring and the bottom layer of flooring, thus pulling everything together and making it even more stable. So that was a long-winded way to say, yeah, bench should be a little bit better soon. Luthier has come in with $5 Canadian. Thank you very much. You live in the land of flame maple, and I loved it. I love it. Sorry. Ben, I have a... but you can get away with it. It very much depends on what you are going to do with the guitar long term. If it is living in a property with, I think you guys call it forced air or aircon is the way, and constant heat going up and down and all that jazz, then really 12% isn't good enough. I tend to aim, even in the UK, for about 8 or 9% and lower if I can get it. What I would suggest is take the wood, machine it down to closer, not all the way, but closer to the final sizes that you require from it, and then very carefully store it inside the house in which the guitar is going to end up living. And if it's going to do any moving around, that will help. It's not difficult to build yourself a miniature kiln, if I'm honest. In fact, I really do need to just go ahead and build one for myself on the channel for fun and your elucidation. Enlightenment, elucidation. Is elucidation teaching? Let me know in the comments. Basically, a box with insulation. You've got a heater in one end, a fan in the same end, blowing hot air over all of the wood. You have the wood in stickers and a fan to pull the air out. And essentially, I do think you need a fan to pull the air out. I need to re-look into that. I haven't built one myself. I've just looked at them. So something like that could force the process much, much faster, but you're taking something from 12% to 8%. You don't want to do it too fast because you end up with cracks and checks and major twistage and nastiness that you don't want. But yeah, you are nearly there. Okay, Heart of Oak, the purveyor of fantastic teas. Thank you very much. This question for Ben: would you consider doing a video using a coping/jeweler saw? I tried after watching you cut out the guitar logo, and I failed miserably. A real hack job. That's a little bit of a bun because you're hacking away at the stuff. So, I have explained exactly how to use it. I think the best video for that, to my memory at least, was when I did Grace Kelly's eyes as an inlay, or at least, a Batman-esque section of her face. It was one of my. I really, really, really enjoyed that video. Many tens, if not hundreds of thousands of people have watched it and enjoyed it, and I did explain how to use the saw. However, let us go into it very quickly here. The most important thing, or a important thing, is the tension. You don't want it too loose. You want it to sort of ping like that. And good quality jeweler's saw blades, 3/0 or 4/0 is a good size for most mother of pearl, etc. And yeah, you need to. You really do need to. Good quality blades make all the difference, and the tension is important. The next thing is, I'm not gripping it with a death grip. I'm pulling it as vertically as I can, up and down, without doing too much rocking. And if you rock sideways in particular, you break your blades. But that's the important thing. Try and keep your whole arm going up and down rather than work from the wrist, and that seems to help. Ivan Wizard, Carl, has sent €5. Thanks very much, Carl, and says, hi all. Hi, Ben. I see you got your own big piece of bog oak. That is an understatement. Check my personal Instagram @TheRealBenCrowe. If you aren't following me yet, please do. Just for fun. A giant chunk of bog oak. He says, it saves me bringing some over. Good man. Thank you very much. I found it at auction and I bought everything I could. Iwasaki files and other lovelies on the way. #Crimson Sale. Yeah, the Crimson Sale actually is coming to a close. It will be ending in about 8 days, I think, 9 days maybe. Thank you for your support, and most importantly, yeah, if you are on the fence on anything, I'm saying, jump off that fence. Just buy it. What's the worst that can happen? We all need more tools, even if we have absolutely zero space for them. The same thing, however, does occur. People ordering custom guitars and tools and kits and courses and all that jazz. Anyway, sales over. Luke of HBW sent another £5 and with a laughing emoji says, sorry, Ben. I realised how bad my spelling was on that message once I sent it. I'll put it down to excitement. Smiley face. Glad you got your bench sorted. Nobody's ever flirted with me like that before. No, I'm really... It was... I was half thinking that at some point I would do another bench build series on the channel, but I also don't necessarily enjoy building benches. Yeah, this is it's good. It's really good. Anyway, thank you for your comments and your questions. Now, let us see. Let me see. Stephen Clark says, I seriously have most of the tools that I will ever need, woodworking wise and specifically for guitars, and I'm still looking for more. This is how I ended up with the... my shoelace has come undone while standing here, and it's infuriating. This is exactly how I ended up with the tool shop. Frankly, I was buying tools. I learned how to get bargains. I love the act of getting a bargain. I really do. And I ran out of actual reasons to get them other than, hey, I love buying the damn things and I love them. I don't need another number 4 or another 10 number 4s, or I think I have about 70 or 80 of them at the moment. But I need them. And that's how the shop ended up. But also, it really is, if you can get a good bargain and find them at car boot sales and markets and things like that, some tools seriously are a very good investment. They are going up on a regular basis. And if you have the storage space to store some small, high-value tools for 30 or 40 years, actually, you could get a damn good return on your investment. So that's kind of how I justify it to myself at the moment. We'll see. We'll see. Anyhow. Divergent Guitars can't wait to get home from his trip so he can really get going on his baritone build. I've taken time off from Nebula to do the workshop, and I still have another day of that tomorrow, but I am actually looking forward to building again, which is good. What was under my workbench artwork, other than a lot of rubbish and some boxwood? But yeah, it was fun. It was fun doing that. Okay. Has anyone noticed? I think Ben is avoiding saying. Yeah, Lisa. It got to a point where Tom, who runs Crimson for me, was saying it even more than I do. So there we go. Jaybird Customs. So who else was thinking, okay, good, I'm not the only one, when Ben started cleaning his shop and finding stuff he forgot he had, lol. I think that is just a factor of having a workshop, to be frank. Okay, somebody says I look cream crackered. Hi people, has Ben answered Discord questions yet? I have not. That's from Inky Guitars. Okay. Now, how do I convert a 3-bolt neck to a 4-bolt? You drill an extra hole. That is from Danny Ninick. Yeah, literally just choose wherever you want to have an extra hole. If you feel you need to, put it there, countersink, etc., and you're sorted. Okay, this is from a Swedish viewer. I don't see a name. It says, hello, Crimson Guitars. I've watched all your videos on YouTube. I'm impressed. There's like minimum 1,100 actually live at the moment. And I really admire your craftsmanship. Even got me inspired to make my own guitar. That is the point. I got some help with the neck, but it made my body mostly by myself. Congrats. I think I've made some mistakes with the paint job. I'm not surprised. I make paint job mistakes on a daily basis. The neck pocket is filled with lacquer. Ooh. What is the easiest way to clean that pocket? The layer is thick. Thank you in advance, /Swedish viewer. And then we've actually got images. Honestly, that is nowhere near as bad as I thought. So essentially, it looks like you've got some powdery paint there, and it's fine. I would personally grab a sharp chisel. Those chisels are not sharp yet. I will sharpen them. Grab a sharp chisel and then just very gently scrape towards the outside edge of the instrument and just scrape the offending paint or glue or whatever away, and that will be absolutely fine. Kiwi Quarters sent $5 thanks very much, and says, is there a source for non-standard pots and switches, i.e. slider pots or push-push? If I'm on a site with 70,000 switches, what do I look for? You look for a corner, and then you go and you sit in the corner, and you just quietly rock with the option of just gently banging your head into the wall, just repeatedly. 400k, 450k, plus or minus 20%, plus or minus 20%. That's a 40%. Ah! Okay, all this by way of saying, I know your pain. I think you are on Mouser Electronics. It sounds exactly like Mouser, who is a very good company. They have amazing deals, i.e. bulk prices. You want 1,000 of something, you go there. And they have almost everything that you could possibly want, but wading through the absolute specifics means you need to know the absolute specifics. And I am not your man for that. I have, however, done it. DBDT, DPDT, DPDD, all of that. I mean, switches, and it's a nightmare. It is an absolute nightmare, but I do understand. I really do understand. Okay, so where are we? 76 people watching, 47 likes. I like those numbers. That's all right. Did Talitha... Okay, where are we? Oh, Heart of Oak is also working on a wooden ship model between building two guitar kits, cutting out all the small pieces. It's a 60-year-old ship kit. That sounds pretty awesome. That does sound very, very awesome, actually. Toot M. Carmen says, but Ben, you do rock! Lol. Thank you very much. I also rock and bang my head in the corner in frustration at not being able to make everything I want to make. Okay. Okay, so we have some small lag apparently. According to YouTube, the stream is absolutely healthy. It's got more than enough internet access apparently. Or are we lagging? I wonder. That's off. Okay, this is interesting. So, can you please let me know what the quality of the stream is looking like? We should be connected to the hard line of the internet and all that jazz. I had them put one of the sort of dozen international nodes in my backyard. Can you imagine if I had that power? Okay, hold on. Divergent is currently watching this on an airplane's Wi-Fi. That's actually pretty damn cool. Spike's Gold Prospecting sounds like he's changed his YouTube name again. Did you do the shop clean so we could all feel better about our messes? Question mark. It worked. I'm doing in part my shop clean because I'm worried it's a fire hazard, for crying out loud. As you well know, yeah. Let's be careful. Clean up the dust regularly. I had I had a story from my former master at West Dean College building Baroque instruments, and they had actual floorboards with gaps in them. And his workshop, or at least the workshop in which he learned, I think, was essentially on stilts with a 4 or 5 foot gap underneath, into which all of the sawdust just ended up falling over time and building up and building up and building up. And one day there was a fire as a result of that, and it was not good. DPDT equals dual pole, dual throw. I've always said double pole, double throw, but yeah. Robert R says, so many guitars to build, so little time. Okay, so apparently we lagged a few times, but it's nothing major. We'll see. This is 8 p.m. This is 8 p.m. on Sunday evening. Unfortunately, it seems that the UK, as backward as we are, have issues with everybody being on the internet at the same time and it not working as well. I would have thought that we would have solved that issue by this point in our life. Joe Smy-John Jr. is in the house. Sent $5. Thanks very much, Joe. It says, afternoon, Ben. I emailed some pictures with a question attached. Okay. I am going to hope that SC Guitars is listening and will be able to forward those on to me. Spike. Ben, for your info, Texas Toast is doing a build contest for next year. The guitars will be judged in person in Colorado with a $100 sign-up fee, with cash going to one wielder. More of a pro-builder competition the way they have set it up. Thanks for having us non-professionals a place to compete. We appreciate it. Look, the more I hear about... Enough said. I think it's all... Look, the more building, the more guitar building, the more promotion of guitar building, the better. And, you know, bully to them. Bully for them? What's the phrase I'm looking for? Good for them. But yes, I think... I had a meeting a couple of days ago where I debated the fact that I posited the thought that potentially we should actually just do away with the invitational part of the competition entirely and make it 100% about the general public. I think that's the way to do it. Now, just for your information, for you guys here, I was asked a question on the live stream last week as to why apparently Texas Toast have been saying that we haven't got in touch with them, or they've been trying to get in touch with us about giving a guitar away or a course or something. I actually went back and I looked through every single email. Oh, I lie. I had somebody go back and look through the email accounts, all of the email accounts we have. We haven't heard from them since the last time we begged them to please tell us what their vote was. The reply to which was, in no particular order, here are our top 5. And we then had to beg for a further 3 weeks to get a bloody reply, or 2 weeks. Anyway, I'm uncharacteristically pissed off. Can you tell? Master of the Nuclear Village says, "Hi Ben, I messed up my headstock. To fix the problem, I've glued in wooden inserts into existing holes and I'm going to re-drill the whole thing. Is this solution better than cutting off the headstock and making a new one using a scarf joint?" Yes, emphatically. A student last week did exactly that. Glued in and re-drilled. I have done it all. I have an issue with bridges. And not so much in the last few years, but for a long time I just could not get bridges in the right place. And yeah, drill, plug, move, and hope it's covered. So we've done that. Graham B says, "Hi from New Zealand." Robert R says, "Could we get a few more thumbs up, people, please?" I think we're doing okay. 56 likes, 96 viewers. Oh, Spike's Guitar Garage is in. Says, "Didn't realise I was on that account. Lol, still the Guitar Garage." There we go. Two YouTube channels. I got it. What radius would you use for a bass fretboard? This is from Ian. Bonjour. I prefer a slightly flatter radius on basses, but it does depend on who the player is going to be honest. So I tend to go for a maximum, of 12 inches. But yeah, who's the player? What do they like playing? Because it's amazing. You can feel the difference between 12 and 14 inches in a radius on a fretboard. So yeah, go for that. Bully to them. I was right the first time, apparently, from SC Guitars. Zach Ellison, burgers, fries, chips, and chocolate shake. Woohoo, sounds naughty. "Hi Ben, I was watching the Trogly's guitar show." Yeah, I saw that one too. He got a 57 Corona AXP. It had a great relic job. I would love for you to do a Crimson relic. Amazing. Zach, the last time I did a relic, it was on a PRS for a client about 10 years ago now. And that particular video has had somewhere nearing 1 million views. And if you search carefully through all of the horrified comments, there are actual death threats there for, destroying somebody's favourite guitar. Yeah, I think that would be great. Lindworm Guitars. "I have not answered Rocket Punk's question from multi-country Crimson schools. I'm going to assume that Rocket Punk asked me if I'm going to be doing Crimson guitar building schools in different countries. At the moment, no. It's exactly the same reason why we really struggle with the idea of having other manufacturers manufacture tools under our license abroad. It's actually a very, very small market, but the big issue is that I need to be able to absolutely 100% guarantee the quality. And I personally can only do that. I can only do that in person. I would like to. I would love to. Hey, this is Crimson Guitars California or whatever. But no, I think a part of the experience is, I would hope, meeting me. A part of the experience is coming to Dorset and meeting the team at Crimson and seeing what we're doing. And, that's where we go. Joe Smart John Jr. has come in with $5 and said SC has forwarded the email to you. Okay, so I will see that in a minute. Question about my Purple Heart for my guitar build, which I'm saving for the 2022 GGBO scratch build competition. Am I just seeing things, or do I have some slight figuring in it? It looks slightly flamed or curly to me. No. No, you are almost certainly not seeing things. I have seen some horrendously gorgeous. I'm going to stick with that. Flamed purple heart. It does tend to get lost a little bit over time as it ages, but you can get some serious rippling in the purple heart. It's really nice. Same thing goes for Gonzalo Alves as well, or it's known by another name. I'm not sure how long I'm going to last today. I've got a very sore throat. Okay. Alan Barnes says cheeseburgers. MMM. Ben, I don't have a workbench. Can I use the masking tape and superglue trick to stick my body blank to the washing machine to plane it flat? Your washing machine is going to be a whole hell of a lot more stable than my workbench. I say yes. The only issue you might have is it's relatively thin formed steel, I assume, and it might not actually be perfectly flat. But it might be. Go for it. I remember doing my first fretwork on a very rickety dining room table. Not good. Not good at all. 1971 Silver Surfer says, here to a relic or recycled materials video. Somebody suggested that I go through the workshop and just make a guitar based only on what I can find in the workshop, which I could make a number of guitars here. Yes, you do have figuring in that purple heart. I've just been sent an image. You also have some pretty nice clamps in the picture there. Okay, so Max is sending us photos of the sea from his holiday. Now, let me see what questions I've missed right from the beginning. George Davis says, you could just move your whole operation to the US. Larger market. It is a larger market, but I really like the UK. I really do. So... I'm just sorry. I'm looking for questions here. Ben, have you ever used sassafras or catalpa wood? No, I haven't. Although most woods can be used. Inky Guitars says, is Purple Heart toxic? I might use it on an acoustic. Purple Heart makes a very good acoustic. It's very hard, very bright, and responsive, and does what it says on the tin. It's a good wood. It's not that fun to work with. And most woods are actually toxic. Just once you've used them, not so much. So there we go. Jaybird Custom says, a few streams ago you said something about not using eucalyptus because... And I don't remember what you said about why you don't use it. What was it? Eucalyptus and camphor and stuff like that are particularly oily. That's actually where the smell comes from. And it's very difficult to dry properly because most moisture is lost through the ends of the wood. And as you cut the wood, the oil goes out and then seals the pores, thus sealing in the moisture. I had an absolute nightmare drying some camphor, which, funnily enough, I'm actually going to be using in my next version of the GGBO guitar, which needs a name. So anyway, I'm still looking for questions. Any questions for making Purple Heart purple again? Any tips or tricks? I don't. I think I commented on this last time, but use UV, sand it down and then use a UV protective finish. Does the neck have to have an angle to have a fall away from the upper frets? No. Again, I answered this last week. Okay. There we go. Okay, fine. We're done. Give me questions, people. Toot M. Carmen says, Ben, I got a Triton TSP ST450 yesterday. I love it already. I have no idea which one that is. I think it might be the oscillating spindle sander and belt sander, because I mean, I use that machine more than almost any other machine I have. Okay. Fret press versus fretting hammer? Question mark. Go. I prefer fretting hammers just because that is what I have used my whole life. A fret press does, once you are in the swing of things, give you a very even pressure across the board, which means that there is technically less fret leveling to do, but I mean, there is always fret leveling of some sort. So, yeah, I think it's a personal thing, to be honest. Inky Guitar says, Ben, how do I bend sides without a bending iron? So how do you do it on your courses? We do it with a bending iron on the courses. I would love to hear your feedback on the guitar design I sent you. Okay, Inky Guitars. Okay. Let us get back to that just after I answer this. Joe Smijon Jr. sent $5. Says, would you rather use paper templates or CNC? CNC. So if I'm doing a one-off build, I never use a template. I just don't bother. I draw it on the wood. If I have drawn a full plan, that's fine, but then I draw what I'm going to do on the wood. I cut it out in the bandsaw, and then I use the aforementioned oscillating spindle sander / belt machine to get to where I want it to be. I don't need a template because it's a one-off. If I'm doing a guitar that is going to be replicated and replicated and replicated, then I see no reason why not to use why I shouldn't use a CNC produced template, or actually just have the plates etc. done on the CNC. I have 100% changed the way that I think nowadays, and in fact we use a laser cutter now for templates instead. So okay, how can I bend sides without a bending iron? You've got several options. You can use a big, it's called a steam box. Basically, use some relatively waterproof chipboard or MDF or something like that. Paint the insides if you want to with latex paint, etc. And put your wood in, block off the ends, and have a pipe going in that's got steam going in. And over a very short period of time, your wood will become very flexible and you can just do whatever you want with it. Another option is to have almost exactly the same setup, but instead of steam, you use ammonia fumes. Stinks, but does the job for most woods. Some woods more than others, but it's an interesting thing. Another option is you can steal somebody's hair straighteners. I've seen that done before, actually quite well. The most important thing, though, is to make sure that you thin the sides down to the correct thickness, and that is actually 2 millimeters or less. You can even do 1.5 millimeters thin. Once it's all together and sandwiched between the top and the back, that is more than strong enough, especially if you're going to put extra support bits and pieces in there. Okay, Inky Guitars sent me a design for an instrument that did not use nails or screws or even glue, and as a concept, as a thought exercise, cool, absolutely cool, but the practicality of it is, why would you want to do it? If you want to make a guitar that is 100% going to take you minimum 3 or 4 times longer to make than a standard guitar, and is 100% going to be, at the very least, less stable than any other guitar ever made. Maybe not less. I think maybe I'm being too harsh there, actually. It's going to take a hell of a lot longer, and it is going to be a lot more difficult to get something that is stable and does work as an instrument. As a thought experiment, fantastic. It is interesting, and the design and the but you've got to sit back and think, why? What is my reason for doing this? Screws screws have been around since before the screwdriver. Can you believe it? I'll throw that one out at you. Like, screws were around for, I think, decades before the screwdriver was actually invented. It's a couple of 100-year-old, if more, not more, technology, and it's there and it does its job and it works and it's fantastic. If you scroll back 20 seconds, you'll see me just gently shitting myself. There's a plant outside that just looked like a person just looking in the windows from the dark, like, ah, crap. You have found me. And glue, same thing. If you've got an issue with using modern glues that use plastics or resins or chemicals or whatever, then go and use hide glue. It's made out of animal stuff, and if you've got a problem with it being made out of animal stuff, there's vegetable glues as well that will do the same sort of thing, but it'll do it and it'll hold the guitar together and it will be stable. I love the thought. But the reality is that it's an utter waste of your time to actually try and build it, unless you have a YouTube channel and you want to utterly screw yourself over, but make something that people will go, oh my god, I can't believe he's done that. So yeah, there is that. Divergent Guitar sent $5 in a super chat. Thank you very much. And said, I've just bought a Stanley No. 7 jointer plane, yay eBay, and now am in need of a shooting board. Any tips for building one? Recommended materials? I used MDF. Mine is... wow, I lie. Hold on. Okay. My main one that I've had forever and ever that is still apparently a crimson was MDF. This one here is veneered MDF on one part, and then the lower section is actually a piece of sapele, which surprises me. But yeah, basically you've got a flat piece and then another flat piece next to it, and you just run your plane, and it's really, really, really super easy. If you do want to get clever with it, then I would put an angle on the top piece. Okay, Lisa says, would you consider putting electronics on the guitar? I think some do already. I'm talking about the things you use a pedal for. I have done in the past, but it is not something that I've done that I would do at the moment. Okay, so let me know if we're still live. Do. Okay, I don't know if you're live. I don't know if I'm live. We've been going for 45 minutes. Speed test, internet speed test, run speed test. We have internet. It's doing its thing. It's boop, 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 boopity booping, which means I suspect you're actually watching. It's a very, very low speed for what I'm used to. So, yeah. Well, that's an issue. Okay, let me have a look. I'm going to answer Vulcan's question later when I know that I've got the ability, and let's see. No, this does not appear to be working. Okay, hold on. Let's go to the backup. Aha! Are you there? I don't know if anybody's here, but we will see. Woohoo! Bunch of super chats and we're back online. Haha! Okay, most of us are here. Fantastic. So not only did that not work, but it messed up with... Yeah, I'm not sure what's happening. One of the wires stopped working. So we're now on Wi-Fi rather than Ethernet. And we'll see. Vulcan has come in with a question. Said 20 pounds, 20 euros, sorry. Thank you. Hi Ben, if I place the neck in the pocket where the heel calf starts, my bridge would be too close to the pickup. If I push it in more, there'll be a gap between the pocket sides and the neck calf. Any advice? Looking forward to my SRP kit. Cheers, V. Okay. Quite frankly, get some veneer and pad out the sides of the neck, and that will pad out the sides of the neck pocket, and that will mean that as you pull the neck... Let me rephrase this, because if I push it in more... Okay, in more towards the bridge, my bridge would be too close to the pickup, so you want to push everything backwards. Okay. Yeah, basically, put some veneers in. I was thinking backwards, basically. Push the neck in and go for it. Neil Jelks says, I tried knocking on the screen, but I'm not sure you heard it. Okay. Refresh, lol. I saw some super chats that I missed. Joe sent $5 and said you're all good. I wasn't seeing anything, so I needed to refresh my screen as well. Typical. Zach Ellison has sent $5, says, Cookie and Custard. Ben, would you do a Crimson Guitars version of the Dean Elite? It's one of my favourite guitars of all time and gets no love at all. I don't even know what it is. I mean, I'm going to say yes, absolutely. Frankly, we'll do a custom version of anything. Yeah, so super strat-ish, but very sexy. If I'm right. No, that's an Exile. Hold on. Oh my gosh. Let's just watch. Last week we watched Ben tidy his workshop. This week we're watching Ben just randomly Google around on his phone. I mean, I like most things that Dean have ever done, so I'm just going to say at this point, yes, absolutely. And we could... Oh, I know the one. Yes. The only thing I don't like is a headstock, and is also probably actually thinking about it, a trademarked thing that I couldn't copy anyway, or make a version of. But we'll get there. So yeah. I just wanted to make sure that I did Vulcan's question properly. It really is just a case of putting some material in and pushing the neck down, or actually, why don't you move the pickup cavity? If you move the pickup cavity, you can put a scratch plate on and hide the fact that way. I would consider that those are your two options. Ivan Wizard Carl says, fillet of fish. Ben, can spalted wood be used in a multi-laminate neck? I know spalted for a full neck is just asking for trouble, but if it's just accent lambs, would it be okay? It depends on the material, but yes, it should be fine. It should be absolutely fine. Okay, now, I am sure I've missed a bunch of questions. Ooh, Heart of Oaks just sent a picture of his ship. It looks really cool. I wonder if I can just show you guys. Woohoo for the digital age. Here, look at my screen. Okay. Okay, Tutem Carmen says, hi Ben, just in case you don't see it on the YouTube comments, for my second ever guitar build, can I get your permission to build a solid body version of the guitar that you're going to build for me? I've already replied to that, I think. But yes, absolutely. I'm the last person on the planet to turn around and say, wait, I designed that. You can't build a version of it. That's just wrong. Here's my cease and desist letter. I am all about... If somebody puts my logo on a headstock, I'll be pissed. But if you're going to take something that I've designed and you want to build a guitar inspired by that or your own take on it, I'd live for that. I absolutely love seeing what people do with my ideas. Why else do you think I do? I mean, you know why I do it. It is one of the reasons that I do what I do. It's the sincerest form of flattery is being copied. That's a nicer way of saying that, but there we go. So yeah, no, Tutum Carmen, absolutely, go for it, please. Okay, Rocket Punk. Cheers, Ben. Hi, Ben. Cheers from France. I know you said you wanted at first to own a big guitar factory a long time ago, but have you considered expanding Crimson outside of the UK? I know many people here who would like to work with you or for you, and that absolutely not including me. Winking emoji. So maybe would opening other guitar schools and tiny factories in other countries accommodate your former dream and actual activity? At the moment, no. As I said earlier on, it's such a problem with to do with quality and accountability, and in this day and age, it takes one person to have a less than stellar experience, and it's just all over the internet. And everybody can see that something went wrong. At the moment, I really, with the Guitar Factory side of things, I need to have direct control over that. But yeah, it's one of those things. Luthiers says that you missed the shooting board part. Can somebody tell me just how far into shooting board I got? Mark Milligan says, Burvos, have you considered doing instructional vids on making useful regular jigs, i.e. fret sawing router sled? You mentioned magnetic saw jig that could be used for multi-scale. I have. And I should. And I shall. Yes. Give me ideas of what you... give me ideas, other than those, of what you would like to see. Maybe we could do a voting system or something like that, even to force me to do it. George Davis says you told one of your students not to build a one-piece. I understand that it was mostly due to the type of wood he had, but you still advised against it. Isn't a neck through basically a one-piece? Okay, no, my issue with building a guitar out of a single huge chunk of wood, talking to the student, it was that it was spalted beech, if I'm recalling who and when this was. We've done a lot of what's on the benches over the years. Actually, just over 200, because we hit our 200th the other week and didn't go, yay, 200 what's on the benches. It is not to do with sound. It is not to do with stability. It is entirely to do with making your life difficult for no reason. Exactly the same issue that I had with the glueless guitar. It's making your life difficult for zero gain. Zero. You have avoided having to use a router to make a neck pocket, which, I mean, it's a scary thing, I suppose. You still have to use a router, I suppose, to do your truss rod and all that jazz. But what you have done is you've taken a big rectangular chunk of wood and you've thrown away 3/4 of it. And that's not good. That's not good. My whole thing, my whole shtick at the moment, that's funny, we're talking about wood. Shtick, get it? Is reducing the amount of timber that I use in a guitar build. I don't like heavy guitars, I want light guitars, and I don't like waste, and I don't like using more of a material than I have to use, and I want to use less wood. So yeah, I'm going to say don't build one-piece guitars. Sonically, yeah, a through neck is close, I suppose, in sound to a one-piece guitar. But then again, a glue joint acts like a particularly strong length of grain through the guitar. And once if you've got a good quality cavity into which you have fitted tightly a nice neck and you've used good quality glue, once that's done, it is done. It's one piece. Functionally, aesthetically, tonally, it's one piece. And if you take a good glue joint and you smash the guitar on the ground, chances are you're going to break it off the glue. It's going to go next to the glue joint. It's not going to go where the glue was, because the glue is stronger than the wood in most cases. And yeah, there we go. Rant over. Kiwi Quarters says, I've never done an oil finish. Do you have to flat sand forever and buff and polish? If not, I'm in. You're in. You don't have to flat sand, and if you do want to flat sand, it's not after everything's cured. It is while it is literally being applied. So if you want a relatively shiny finish, shinier than you normally get, then take your guitar finishing oil, spooge it onto the top, and then with 1500 grit or 2000 grit wet and dry paper and a sanding block, you just rub the oil in. That fills the grain. It also sands down the surface a little bit and polishes it up as you go. After, I'm going to imagine that you're in a nice warm workshop. After 5 or 10 minutes, the oil is going to start going off, i.e. when you run your finger down the oil, it's going to start feeling a little bit tacky. At that point, you take a good quality, solid, heavy-duty tissue and you wipe all of the excess away till it is basically touch dry. That there will get you a really, 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 really nice finish. And once it's dry, you don't touch it. Unless you've left a little bit on there and it has dried in sort of and it's not flat and it's not nice. At that point, you will have to rub it down a little bit if you want a perfect finish. But if you've rubbed all of the excess away, that should not happen. Okay. Whew. Leprechaun says he feels that pun may have aged him at least 18 months. Yeah. I saw one the other day. Somebody says, I'm not a father yet, but I keep on coming up with all of these dad jokes. It's a real faux pas. I'm just going to watch and see how many people unsubscribe from the channel based on that one. Okay, warm workshop. How do you heat your shop? That's from Jeff's Guitars. I finally bought, it was about £180 or something like that, a thermostatically controlled Wi-Fi enabled, can you believe it, heater that is sitting there, and basically it senses if the workshop gets below 12 degrees and warms it up until it hits 12 degrees. Before this time, I've always used oil-filled heaters that you plug in and turn on and turn off, and but it's hardly ever on. The workshop is incredibly well insulated except for all of the windows along the front, and that if I am going to stay on this property and if I'm going to stay in this workshop long term, I will rip those out and put double glazed windows in there. But that's where we are. Okay. Divergent guitars. Okay. Divergent guitars. Thank you. It says your answer to the shooting board question dropped off with, if you want to get clever about it, put an angle on. And I'm going to leave it there this time as well. If you want to get clever about it, the top section on which the wood is sitting, make that wedge shaped. And what will happen is that instead of running your plane along the same section of the plane blade and making just that sort of 6mm section blunt, the wood will run along, essentially slice down a larger section of your plane blade. The one thing that has to be said though is that you have to make sure that you are not using a blade with a camber on it, i.e. the blade has to have a square end to it. Shooting planes should have a square-ended blade. Smoothing planes, I put a small camber on. Scrub planes, a massive camber on. Essentially, it allows you to pinpoint where the plane is cutting. And then, bearing in mind that you've got a square edge to the blade, you need to make sure that it is cutting the same at both edges. So it needs to cut. I mean, at the moment, I can feel that that's cutting there far more than it is there. So you use your adjustment and fix it that way. So there we go. The Circus Peanut says, do you like Spam? ? I do not like Spam, sir. I like green eggs and ham. What I like is that hand plane. Okay. Spike's Guitar Garage says, I have a build going out of stair treads, the whole guitar, then just want to veneer the top. Beautiful wood. I had some beautiful, I think it was actually teak in the end, that was an external staircase for about 100 years and made the most amazing guitars. Heavy as all hell, but really, really nice. Okay, a bunch of people are groaning at my horrible joke. I apologise. Yeah. It's like a dark sense of humour, actually. It's like food. Not everybody gets it. That's my other go-to really terrible joke. Come on then. And I fluffed the delivery, of course. Dum-de-dum-de-dum. A bunch of people taking the piss out of my sense of humour. I'm so sorry. Are active pickups bad for an SG in general, or would you rather were you rather referring to messing up an original classic? Okay, we're talking about somebody else. I don't have an issue. Personally, I think that any guitar is good with any set of pickups. It depends on what the person wants the guitar for. Period. Paul Waldrop says, I'm building a T-style guitar out of pallets. Cool. And used your guitar penetrating oil on it, 2 coats, and it is beautiful and feels like satin. Fantastic. That is as much to do with your work as it is with mine. But yeah, thank you and congrats. Sean Fahey says, I need to do some stuff before work tomorrow, so enjoy the rest of the evening. I'll watch the rest of the Q&A tomorrow. Would you rather... what creepy crawlies terrify you the most? 5 or 6-year-old children, when they're in a pack and they decide that they are going to chase you and just chase you, and it is the closest to being chased by zombies that I'm hopefully ever going to actually get to, and they are just fucking relentless, excuse my language, and actually scary. I know that wasn't what you meant, but it's where I'm going, and there we go. You can feel free to bleep me out in the podcast. This all gets turned into a podcast, the best bits. So there we go. Okay. Oh no, I dropped my new square. Oh, it's a good thing I don't care if it's square or not. It's because it's just a beautiful old handmade. Look at that. Isn't that cool? Ook. Okay. Well, I think I'm slowly running out of questions here. I'm going through here, and you're watching me look through them, and there we are. Okay, so I've done Tutankhamun's. I've answered Rocket Punk. Scotsman loves our cavity templates. It's a photograph of the best cavity template and cover that he's ever made using our templates that we now sell at Crimson Guitars, which are currently on sale. If you haven't been on the website for 6 months or so, you should really check it out. Ben Timon says earwigs are horrendous. I seem to have developed an antipathy towards spiders, which is weird because I used to have pet spiders and scorpions and things. But yeah, in my old age, I've developed empathy for snails and a fear of spiders. Okay. Sven.Clark is doing a bolt-on neck with wood screws, not the devilish threaded insert and machine bolt. Would it be better to use standard wood screws or... Yes. Yes, standard wood screws rather than a much finer pitched screw with more turns on the thread count. There we go. It does look great, but if you're going to do that, then you're going to have to basically tap the wood. Do the proper wood screws, Sven. Absolutely. Garage Master Guitar says, "Hi Ben, where can I get those rolls of fret wire and what size is normal? Medium jumbo? Many thanks." We use medium jumbo as standard. I am querying my stance on that, but yeah, medium jumbo. We buy them from Jessica quite a lot. All Parts also sell big rolls of fret wire, or have done in the past. I haven't. I haven't had to do the actual purchasing for a long time now, which makes me very happy about my life. Mr. Waffle says, "I thought a group of 5-year-olds was called a terror." Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Robert R says, "Do you have a favourite type of pickups? For example, humbucker, single coil, or P90s?" Yes, I look at me. I like humbuckers. I really do. No, my absolute favourite pickup is actually a combination of piezo and humbuckers. I love that sound. And funnily enough, I don't have that built into a single one of my guitars. Then again, I do have children, and I don't actually play plugged in 99% of the time. Knight YYZ says, "Hi Ben, I have a project with Padauk and maple side by side. When I fine sanded the Padauk, dust embedded in the maple, turning it pink. How do I get around that?" You then have to sand the maple just on its own. You could even try masking off the Padauk. And by masking off the Padauk, you could just put masking tape on and just be careful with the maple, or actually, depending on what finish you're going to go with, paint the Padauk with a couple of layers of shellac. That will mean as you sand, even if you go over the lines a little bit, you should be okay and you won't get any pink dust, and then go on. Would you rather watch as someone accidentally put all of your vintage planes in a furnace, or B, have to be submerged in a bath full of huntsman spiders 30 minutes every day? This would be at a random time each day, so you don't have time to mentally prepare. That's even worse. Obviously the first one, but then I would be going to jail, which I suppose would be as good as arrest, potentially. I don't know. Would I be the big guy that looks somewhat intimidating that actually would be everybody's Yeah, I think so. Volcanescent sent €5. Thank you very much. We still have 100 people watching. That's quite cool. Hi Ben, which wipe-on finish and technique would you recommend for a maple fretboard? Spraying is not an option for me. Cheers, V. I would not use a wipe-on finish at all of any sort. I would get some yacht varnish that you apply with a paintbrush. And it is essentially a polyurethane varnish. Paint it on, and once it's cured, you can go back and you can rub it back with in exactly the same way you would a sprayed finish, and it builds up very thick, very rapidly. It dries pretty damn hard, and it will protect your fretboard a whole hell of a lot more and better than any wipe-on finish, basically. I could say, hey, use Crimson Guitar's fret finishing oil or melamine. Melamine would work, I suppose, but you'd need many, many coats of it. But no, just off the shelf, hardware store, local hardware store, yacht varnish. It's not a great finish for a guitar. It just, for a whole guitar, it's a little plasticky. It sometimes can yellow a little bit. It's not ideal, but on such a small thing, a small part of it, I want protection more than I want absolute perfection, shall we say, in the finish. If that is what I have, if that is the limitation that I have set for myself. Bulgonian Evolution says, hi Ben, I have an airbrush kit arriving tomorrow. Haha. What paints would you suggest for guitar bodies? Anything specific or just go for good quality car paints? So it entirely depends on the airbrush and depends on the tip size as to how thick of a paint or stain or tint or whatever it is you can actually get through. So basically, yes, try with good quality car paints if you have access to those things, but you would also need to buy some proper quality, good quality thinners to go with that, and then you will dilute the paint until it is thin enough to go through the airbrush and get the effect that you want. You then obviously have to paint much more on, but that is besides the point. Funnily enough, the other week we talked about airbrushes, and I said, oh, I need to get myself an airbrush compressor, and then through the vintage tool shop I found an airbrush compressor, literally found one, and it's in a box waiting to come here, so I'm going to be playing with airbrushes myself soon. It has been a while, for sure. Okay. Divergent Guitars has the opposite problem. He needs an air conditioning unit for his shop. Got up to 110 degrees Fahrenheit out there last summer. But maybe I don't need a kiln. That is a very good point. You don't need a kiln. Okay. Next build, Poplar Burl veneer, stained purple. Gold leafing around the side as imitation binding. Cool. Great guitar, build off guitar. Oh, the pretty one had gold leaf binding. It was delicious. Who made that? Oh, crikey, too many guitars. Any issues using finishing oil over the gold leaf, or is it safer to use the wipe-on lacquer? Both. Buy as much Crimson product as you can. Sorry, my daughter's texting me. She's far more important than all 102 of you. Just to remind you to have a shower. Lol. Ooh, hold on. Okay. Guitar finishing oil actually does go over gold leaf and seems to work perfectly fine. It adheres all right. The problem is the application process of applying the guitar finishing oil implies once it's dry, once it starts curing, you need to rub as much excess off as possible, and doing that can damage the gold leaf. So you need to be super careful. So, yeah. She says that that was why she didn't answer the phone call. Perfect. Lol. Done. There we go. Parenting in the digital age. My wife said, hey, can you go tell your daughter to have a shower? And I was playing Rocket League and decided to phone her instead. Because, I'm lazy. What can you do? And I can't find WhatsApp. No. And that last question about the gold leaf was from Stephen SC Guitars. Okay, James Riley says, G'day Ben, I am currently in the process of going back over a design for a multi-scale baritone. My original design was 30 inches to 27 inches. Is 3 inches enough of a variance to improve ergonomics and to make the instrument... No, you did mean impede. Okay. Is 3 inches enough of a variance to impede ergonomics and make the instrument harder to play? This is actually implying that this is James from Riley Custom Guitars. This is implying that you want it to be more difficult to play. No, a 3-inch variance is... Okay. Bear in mind that your parallel fret is going to be the 7th fret to the 9th fret, somewhere around about there. It's not 3 inches difference at the nut. It's going to be 1.75 inches different at the nut and maybe 1.25 at the highest dusty ends of the fretboard. So no, I think 3 inches is about par for the course, to be honest. If you do want to impede ergonomics and make the instrument harder to play, then well, I can think of many things. There was a time where I thought that it would be amazing to have essentially a Starry Night inlay on the entire back of the guitar neck. And I thought, this was a long time ago, forgive me in advance, and I thought that the best way to do that would be to take a bunch of pin nails and just hammer them into the neck and then file them down. Yeah, the customer came back like a year later and said, I really do appreciate the cheese grater that you've created for me, Ben, because the nails all started working their way out. And it literally was eating his hand up. Ah, horrific. Oh my gosh. Rob Tootill says, would you rather be happy or right? I used to be the most arrogant human being on the planet. And I actively work on, to a fault, not being that way. So I used to be the guy that was always right. And I'm now very happy to be told I'm not, because it means I'm learning something. So that question actually hits quite close to home, sir. Good question. Whew. Okay, Vulcan says, hi Ben, I got an unfinished with frets in, and what I assume to be a maple fretboard. Is Crimson's oil from the fretboard restoration set the way to go, or should I use your wipe-on water-based lacquer or oils for this? Picture attached, thanks. V. This is hilarious because it's literally what I've just answered the other question. I would say yacht varnish. Yeah, none of my products. Maple fretboards get horrifically dirty and they need to be protected by a fairly thick layer of varnish. It just is what it is. Woohoo. Okay. If you have any questions that you desperately want me to see, then hit us up with a super chat. If not, I'm going to start rolling this one up. We're an hour and 21 minutes in. I'm going to see if I've got any questions here. I'm pretty sure we are all good. Stephen's getting started on his build tomorrow. Nice one. Okay. Okay, hit me with your questions. Hit me with your best stuff. That's what I'm asking. Would melamine work on a maple fretboard? Running 4 minutes behind you. Sorry, that's from Garage Master Guitars. I do. Out of everything that I do, melamine is the only thing. Out of everything that Crimson sells as a finish, melamine lacquer is the one. The water-based wipe-on guitar finishing lacquer does build up a fairly good, a very good film finish. I used it a lot on Shred. Melamine is even more so. Between those two, either of them would do an okay job, yes. But it would take longer, more thinner coats and all that jazz. I do just think go and buy some yacht varnish and be done with it. It's a longer drying time, but it would work. I could also be wrong though, and just buy some of our melamine lacquer or wipe on guitar varnish and be done with it. Bulgarian Evolution says at Brandy B, they got nothing on a brown recluse. I got nailed by one near 3 years ago and it is still playing hell on my joints. No thank you. This is another reason why I'm happy to stay in the UK. Thank you very much. The worst thing to happen to me, spider related, was, we had some false widows that were looking at me very sideways, and I thought, and I had my son there, and I thought it would be intelligent to take this hammer and just destroy the spider, forgetting that the wood that the spider was on and my face was lined up perfectly to splatter myself, all in my beard actually, and potentially mouth and face, with the remains of this former spider. I have made some questionable choices in my life. I have head tattoos. No. Not as bad as getting bit by a brown recluse, but... Brown recluse, is that what it's called? Yeah, brown recluse. Bloody hellfire. Okay, anyhow, I think that's enough embarrassing stories for the evening, don't you? Do we have any questions, people? Ian R. McAllister says, hi Ben, on a neck I have put tongue oil over a black stain. Patches of the top coat are either semi-glossy or have broken down to matte. How can I fix this to have a continual finish? I would use wet and dry paper at sort of 1500 grit or 2000 grit, and basically mat it down to that grade, and then put another coat of finish on top, and then buff it dry, and hopefully that will happen. This is something that happens very irregularly with guitar finishing oil, particularly if the stain substrate is the Stunning Stains shots and a particularly concentrated bit of it has been used. It's not something I've experienced before, so but there we go. That's what I would say on there. Okay. Mark Ellis says, hi Ben, I like the idea of a piezo pickup in a solid body guitar, but would it work well enough without sound cavities? Though now I'm thinking of adding a humbucker too, thinking of a GGBO entry. Okay, an acoustic guitar still vibrates, and it still transmits energy, otherwise it wouldn't be a guitar. Next time you sit down with an electric guitar, strum the neck and put your ear behind the guitar neck and just listen to how much vibration is going on in that neck and for how long it keeps on going. So that's what the piezo picks up, but even more so. So yeah, piezos in an electric guitar, absolutely fine. It's nothing to do with sound holes or cavities or all that jazz. It's a physical. The instrument is vibrating to create sustain and tone, and that's what you're picking up. So there we go. Okay. I think we're going to do this now. Garage Master Guitars is going to try thin down melamine on his. Will let us know. That's fantastic. But yeah. Ben equals Spider-Man's worst enemy. He would squish me, to be honest. Stien TV says, do you ever build custom guitar cases? I do not at the moment, although I have been tempted on many occasions. Electric Lady Guitars Dev in UK says, question, warm greetings. Ben, adjusting Rickenbacker bass truss rods. Any tips? Go gently and carefully and make sure you've got the right tool for the job. I've never actually had a Rickenbacker bass come in. I've played with the guitars on a number of occasions, but never a bass. So I may not know. Yeah, it may be more difficult. I particularly like the 12-string headstocks with the tuners going from both sides. Neil Jelks says he thought that the matte look was because the wood was absorbing still. Yeah, that might well be the case. In fact, that makes a lot of sense. So yeah, just keep on adding more. But but essentially, if you are adding finish across the whole thing, you're still going to have a disparate substrate, and you will notice the differences. So if you flatten it off and then apply more, see what happens. I would love to actually replicate this issue so that I could experiment with it. Anyway, we are we're good. I am Neil Jelks says we found a real black widow and a bunch of bananas from Tesco. This is in the UK. I kept it in a jar and then took it to a travelling creepy crawly event thing. That's the problem, isn't it? Not fun. Mr. Waffles had a gecko drop on his head the other day. That was fun. I had my gecko drop on my head the other day. We started letting him out in the lounge in the evenings to just do his gecko-y thing. And that's quite cool. Hey, I've been saying goodbye for a long time now. Jaybird Custom says, Ben, what's the best way to remove threaded inserts from a heel if there's no slot of hex head to remove them? So let me get this right. Take a bolt, put a nut on the bolt, and then screw the bolt into the threaded insert. Then tighten the nut up until it's really tight up against the threaded insert that is in there. And then that should lock those two things together. Then in the normal way you unscrew the bolt, and that should pull the threaded insert with you. Now, this is assuming it's one of those wooden threaded inserts that literally screw into the wood. If it's not, then the other way is to forget the nut, just put a bolt all the way through the threaded insert and keep on going until it bottoms out in the wood underneath the threaded insert. And then that should, as you keep on doing it, as you keep on tightening that up, it should just push the threaded insert out, and you'll be done. Between those two things, those are my two options. Let me know. Robert R says, have you used leopard wood in a guitar build? I have not, although it sounds intriguing. Joe Brown says, what's the easiest way to clean finger gunk off a fretboard? I never do it, and I have years of accumulated grossness. Gross, Joe? Oh my gosh. If you need to use a chisel, then you got a problem. Crimson Guitars fret. I don't actually I can't see it there. It's somewhere in amongst all those bottles. Crimson Guitars Fretboard Cleaning and Restorative Set. You've got a cleaner, and then you've got the restorative that goes on separate. Now, if it is particularly bad, then actually maybe you do need to use something like it depends on where you are. Denatured alcohol or something like that. Potentially methylated spirits, I suppose, if it's really, really bad. I do not like using those things. I do not like using them on guitars. It dries it out too much. I don't like using it on where I'm going to be touching and all that jazz. Hence why I designed and created our what we use, which is friendly and nice and could actually be used as a massage oil if you wanted to, that sort of stuff. Anyhow, look, we're done. I'm going to stop it. Scott R. Hampton says, curious, electric guitar body and neck vibrates as well. Massively. Absolutely. Otherwise it literally wouldn't, the strings would vibrate and then just stop if the whole thing wasn't feeding into itself. Joe has sent a super chat. Says, what would you suggest for a finish for a Purple Heart? For Purple Heart, oil or spray-on varnish or lacquer? Either, in this case. I would suggest a UV protective finish, and I do not think that our guitar finishing oil is that. I don't. So a spray-on UV cure varnish or lacquer would be great, but in the end either would work, and it depends on what result you want. If you want something that's tactile and breathes with the wood and feels natural, then go for an oil. If you want something that's absolutely protective and looks shiny and glossy and nice and is UV protective, then a UV protected spray-on lacquer. Woohoo! Kevin Lerma says, hey Ben, what do you think of Rich Light for fretboards? I have not played with it, but I have heard very good things, and I'm tempted. So there are several companies that are doing it. Hell, I want to develop my own made out of recycled books, because, I do. And or old clothes. I think that could make some really good fretboards. Recycled denim jean fretboard, anybody? You can't get more rock and roll than that, can you? Okay. Thanks, Ben. You must be tired after lifting lathes from Jeff's Guitars. You saw that then. Yeah, I messed up. Anyhow, UV cured resin from SC Guitars, that works as well, actually. Vulcan Essence says, at Ben, when will you start your next build? Watch build or hand tool build, or both? Potentially both. I am waiting until after the school holidays. I'm finishing Nebula. I'm finishing the workshop up a little bit. And then we are going to go and try and repair the damage that the live stream has done to the main channel. For 6 months, I don't go in and check stats and stuff like that. I just don't. What's the point? I do what I do. I love what I do. And it's helping people and it's cool. But I started doing the live streams, and you watch the views on every other video tank. The second I started doing those on the main channel, and the subscription rate of the number of new subscribers each month halved. Just amazing. What people want on the main channel is guitar builds, and I'm gonna give it to them. Tighten My Carter, anyone? That's from 1971 Silver Surfer. That sounds great. Ben Timon says, yeah, we need more chicken as well as cat cam. You guys should see the puppies. Okay. Anyway, there we go. Thank you, everybody. I love you. I really appreciate your support. Thank you for coming in. Thank you for enjoying and enduring the live stream. And yeah, the most important thing is that I want you to go into the workshop and make something, anything, even if it is just a mess. I mean, you could tidy up a mess as well. I've got a lot of tidying up to do tomorrow. Goodbye, everyone. Have a good one. Good night. Cheers. Cheerio.